The Fraser River Discovery Center sits on the traditional territory of the Coast Salish peoples. Territory acknowledgement is one small part of reconciliation, so please take a moment to think about other ways that you can participate in reconciliation with Indigenous communities. Hello and welcome to the Fraser River Discovery Center at home. My name is Danika and we are continuing our series on sit spots. If you don't know what a sit spot is, first go to our website or YouTube channel and check out a video called Intro to Sit Spots, and then when you're all caught up, you can come on back to this video. So how's it been going at your sit spot? Have you visited at least a few times since our last video? What have you been observing? Today, I have observed that there are so many more birds singing than the last time I visited. It's amazing. In today's video, we're going to be learning about pressing plants. A pressed plant is a plant that has been preserved by drying and flattening it. Pressed plants can last for a really long time and are often stored in places called herbariums. The oldest herbarium specimen that we have found is 450 years old, and it's super common to find specimens that are 100 to 200 years old. In fact, I found some pressed plants in an old nature journal that I kept when I lived in Scotland a few years ago, and you can see they're holding up beautifully. Pressed plants are such an important scientific tool. If you've been following along with these videos, then you tried out observational sketching a few weeks ago. Drawing helps us to look closely, to make observations, but you may have noticed that it's really hard to capture every single detail in a drawing. Even the most experienced illustrators may miss something. But if you have a pressed plant, then it's okay if you don't notice everything the first time you look at it. You can keep looking at and testing the plant for as long as it lasts. Now, before we go any further, let's take a moment to talk about ethical harvesting. Ethical harvesting means that when we pick leaves or flowers or any part of a plant, that we aren't hurting the plant or the ecosystem that the plant lives in. So if you're going to pick part of a plant, like a leaf or a flower, to press it, please keep these things in mind. Make sure that there are plenty of those parts on the plant. Picking one leaf from a large tree is fine because that tree has plenty of other leaves. Picking one leaf from a plant that only has 3 leaves is not fine. This is true for flowers as well. Remember, plants need leaves and flowers to be healthy. Make sure there are plenty of those plants in the ecosystem. There are lots of other plants and animals and organisms that may rely on the plant you're harvesting for their own survival. So if there's only one kind of that plant in the area, especially if it's a small plant, it's best to leave it alone. If the plant you want to harvest from is a large plant like a huge pine tree, it's probably okay to take one leaf from it, even if it's the only one in the area. Use your common sense here. Think before you pluck. Spring is the perfect time to collect and press plants because there are new leaves and flowers popping up all over the place. So once you've found your plant that you want to press and you feel confident that taking that leaf or flower won't harm the plant or the ecosystem, what do? Your pressed plant will turn out the best if you can make it as flat as possible. Now for some things this will be super easy. Most leaves are already pretty flat, and there's a lot of thinner flowers that will flatten really easily. But if you've gotten yourself something particularly thick and juicy, you may need to thin it a little bit. You can remove petals, you can shave off some of the stem, you could even slice a flower in half vertically. Remember, this will be preserved flat and will be essentially two-dimensional, so it really doesn't matter what the back looks like. Now there's a lot of different ways that you can dry your plant. In the notes for this video, there's a PDF called How to Press Plants. This contains instructions on how to dry your plants using a whole variety of methods, from squashing it in a book and just waiting a month to carefully microwaving it, or ironing it. Some of the methods can dry your plants really quickly, but they also use heat. So be careful you keep the heat as low as possible, or it can cause your plants to burn or brown. So what can you do with pressed plants? Well, they're a popular material for art projects, and you can simply glue them into your sit spot journal to record which plants grow there. If you'd like to try a bigger pressed plant project, though, I've got a couple ideas for you. You could create an image of your sit spot by pressing one leaf or flower from each plant in your spot. You could display all the pressed plants in your sit spot journal as a list, gluing each plant onto the pages and writing either their names or descriptions of each plant. As you're only taking a leaf or a flower, it's a good idea to describe the whole plant and what it looks like. Is it a big bush, a small spray of flowers, a skinny tree? You could also display your pressed plants in a more visual representation of your sit spot. Make a large sketch of your sit spot and glue each pressed plant part where you collected it from. Remember to record the date and the weather on the day that you collected the plants. You could also use pressed plants to record a plant's growth throughout the year. As long as it's safe to do so, start by collecting a leaf bud, and then collect another leaf every week or so throughout the growing season, until eventually they fall off in the autumn. If it's a flowering plant, you may want to collect and dry a flower when those appear as well. Record the date and weather when you collected each plant part, and then glue them in sequence in your sit spot journal. Don't forget to record your notes and observations as well. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. Check out our website and social media for more Fraser River Discovery Center at home and other upcoming programs. And make sure to check back in a couple weeks as we continue our series on sit spots and learn all about my favorite app for identifying species.